Ladies and gentlemen, you know, some people spend all their time blaming their situation, their background, their enemies, or their environment for why they are stuck. But here's the truth. Life doesn't respond to your conditions. It responds to your spirit. It's not what happens to you that defines you. It's what you decide to do in the middle of what happens. That's the real power. That's attitude. You can't always control who betrayed you. You can't control when the job let you go. You can't predict the storm or the crisis or the loss, but you can choose the posture of your heart while you're going through it. And that decision, right there, is where your future starts to shift. See, attitude is more powerful than any circumstance. People survive tragic events not because they're more talented or more lucky, but because they chose to think differently in the middle of chaos. They decided, this situation won't break me. That's power. That's not luck. That's mindset. The storm might be raging around you, but if the storm is not in you, you still have authority. That's the secret. The outside doesn't determine your outcome. Your inside does. That's why two people can go through the same crisis, and one walks away stronger, while the other gets stuck for life. It wasn't the event. It was the attitude they brought to it. You can carry the weight of your pain like a curse, or you can carry it like a classroom. You can see your failure as a final chapter, or you can see it as fuel. The decision is in your attitude, and you've got to stop waiting for everything around you to be right before you decide to rise. Rise anyway. Smile anyway. Build anyway. That's the spirit that changes things. The people who change the world are not the ones with perfect conditions. They're the ones with unshakable convictions. They've made up their mind that the world doesn't dictate their worth. Their bank account doesn't dictate their joy. The people who left them don't define their identity. Their spirit rises even when everything around them is falling. That kind of person becomes a magnet for favor. That kind of spirit shakes nations. It changes households. It shifts generations. And let me say this. Your situation may be real, but it's not final. God never gave circumstances the final say over your destiny. That authority rests in how you respond, how you think, and how you carry yourself. So when everything looks dark, when it seems like all hope is gone, remember this. The most powerful thing you have is not your money, your education, or your influence. The most powerful thing you have is your attitude. Because when your attitude is right, no setback can hold you. You ever notice how the same opportunity will show up for two different people, but only one walks away changed? It's not because the opportunity favored one over the other. It's because one was mentally and spiritually prepared for it. That preparation didn't happen by chance. It came from a mindset trained by expectation. When your attitude expects something more, your life starts to align with that expectation. That's why attitude isn't just a reaction, it's a signal. It tells life what you're ready to receive. Some folks wake up every morning with dread, already defeated, already assuming today is going to be just like yesterday. They carry a weight of worry before the day even begins. But there are others who wake up with vision. They may not know how everything's going to work out, but they wake up expecting progress, expecting doors to open, expecting favor to meet them along the way. That mindset draws power. That's when divine timing meets human preparation. That's when mountains move, not because of who you are, but because of what you expect. Listen, expectation is the magnet of manifestation. When you start expecting good things, not in arrogance, but in faith, you prepare your thoughts, your plans, and your heart to respond when those things show up. But when your attitude is wired to only see the worst, that's all you'll ever recognize, even in the middle of a blessing. Some people walk through open doors and never even realize they're standing in answered prayer, because their mindset didn't shift with their surroundings. That's why you have to train your attitude to believe in possibilities even when your past tells you otherwise. Stop rehearsing the reasons why you can't, why it won't, why it never worked before. Start feeding your spirit with vision. Get your hopes up again. There's no such thing as wasted belief when it's rooted in truth. You may not know how, you may not know when, But that's not your business. Your job is to stay positioned in belief, to act like something good is on the way even when everything says it's not. Don't wait for evidence before you believe. Believe, and the evidence will start to show up. That's the power of attitude. It's not about pretending life is easy. It's about seeing beyond what's visible and aligning your spirit with what's possible. Because if you don't expect more, you'll never prepare for more, and if you don't prepare for more, you won't recognize it when it shows up. So adjust your lens, rewire the way you speak, think, and walk. Let your posture preach before your mouth ever does. Expect more, because what you expect with faith, you attract with power. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can always control how you respond to it. That's the real battlefield. Life is going to send storms. It's going to test your patience, stretch your endurance, and sometimes shake the very ground you're standing on. But here's the key. Attitude is the anchor. When everything feels like it's moving around you, the one thing that can keep you steady is how you choose to respond. People will disappoint you, circumstances will frustrate you, things will not always go as planned, but how you carry yourself through the chaos reveals your inner strength. Some folks crumble under pressure not because they're weak, but because their attitude wasn't trained to endure. They expected the road to be smooth. They didn't plan for resistance, but the truth is, resistance is a part of elevation. If your attitude is only set to be grateful when things go right, then you'll be a victim of your conditions. But when your attitude is rooted in resilience, you'll find strength even in the valley. Let me tell you something. Every great person you admire didn't get there because life was kind to them. They got there because they made a decision, again and again, not to let the problem dictate their posture. They didn't let betrayal make them bitter. They didn't let failure make them quit. They responded with purpose. They stayed committed to who they were, even when their surroundings tried to make them doubt it. That's the difference between someone who just goes through a trial and someone who grows through it. If the enemy can't stop your destiny, he'll try to poison your attitude. He'll send delay to make you impatient. He'll send criticism to make you insecure. He'll send offense to make you bitter. But if your attitude is guarded, if you've made up your mind that no matter what comes, you're going to stay grateful, stay peaceful, stay grounded, then what was meant to break you will actually build you. I'm not saying it's easy, I'm saying it's necessary because your attitude is the only thing you always control. And if you don't take authority over it, everything else will. You'll live reactive instead of proactive. You'll let every wind push you off course instead of using the wind to propel your sails. But when you choose your response, you take the power back. You set the atmosphere. You decide what gets to live in your mind and what doesn't. That's real strength. So stop waiting for life to get easier. Start choosing to respond better. Don't let trouble change your character. Let your character change how you handle trouble. Because when your response is greater than the problem loses its power. Let me tell you something that could shift your entire outlook. Your attitude doesn't just affect how you feel. It directly impacts what you attract. The mindset you carry speaks louder than the words you say. It shapes your environment, your relationships, your outcomes. People can feel your attitude before you even open your mouth. If you walk around with bitterness, resentment, or constant complaint, you'll attract more of what feeds that spirit. But if you carry a spirit of gratitude, humility, and expectation, doors begin to open that you didn't even knock on. You see, too many people are walking through life unaware that their energy, their presence, their disposition is either building bridges or burning them. It's not always your talent that's holding you back, it might be your attitude. Because people don't just work with skills, they work with spirit. They remember how you made them feel. They're watching how you handle pressure, how you treat others when you don't get your way, how you respond when things don't go according to your plan. And it's not just people watching, it's God watching too. Sometimes he delays a blessing not because you're unqualified, but because your attitude isn't ready to carry the weight of it. He's not just preparing a table for you, he's preparing you for the table. And if your attitude is bitter in the hallway, what makes you think you'll be grateful in the room? That's why God will test your spirit in seasons of waiting, in seasons of silence, in seasons of struggle. Because if he can't trust your attitude with little, he won't trust your character with much. Now understand this, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you want peace, be a person of peace. If you want honor, live with integrity. If you want blessings, be a blessing. Don't just wish for favor. Prepare for it. Live in such a way that your attitude becomes a magnet for the miraculous. Your attitude should declare your faith even when your situation is whispering doubt. Your smile, your patience, your consistency, those are spiritual declarations that tell the world, I may not have it yet, but I'm ready for it. You see, some people walk into rooms hoping to be noticed, but others walk in and shift the atmosphere without saying a word. That's not just personality, that's presence. That's what happens when your inner posture is aligned with God's peace and your heart is anchored in something deeper than approval. Your attitude becomes a light in dark places. It becomes a testimony when words fall short. It becomes the reason favor finds you, not because you chased it, but because you carried the kind of spirit that couldn't be ignored. So before you chase the opportunity, check your attitude, because the right spirit attracts the right doors. One of the most underestimated aspects of your attitude is how it shapes your response to failure. See, life will never hand you a perfect path. You're going to stumble, you're going to get things wrong. You'll invest time, energy, and emotion into something or someone, and still watch it fall apart. And when that happens, your attitude becomes your lifeline. Not your education, not your talent, not even your connections. Your attitude, because failure doesn't destroy people. It's the attitude they bring into the failure that determines whether they rise again or stay buried beneath it. When you fall, your attitude has to rise. That's the difference between those who recover and those who remain broken. Some people experience loss and make the decision to live from that place for the rest of their lives. But others encounter the same pain and choose to grow through it, to dig deeper, to believe that the setback isn't the end, it's a lesson, it's a redirection, it's even protection, and that choice, that's all attitude. You can't control what life throws at you, but you can control how you interpret it. That's the power you carry. It's the power to redefine what happened to you and use it as fuel instead of a chain. And I'm not just talking about blind optimism. This isn't pretending things don't hurt. This is deciding that even though it hurt, it won't hold you hostage. It's deciding that even though it didn't go your way, it won't stop you from walking in purpose. That's what real strength looks like. It's not in your hands, it's in your heart. There are people sitting in this world with more potential than they realize, but they've buried it under disappointment. They said, I'll never try again, I'll never love again, I'll never trust again. But when you say never, you put a period where God only meant a comma, and it's your attitude that determines whether that pain becomes a prison or a platform. If your attitude is rooted in fear, you'll keep hiding. If it's grounded in faith, you'll keep moving. This is why you have to examine how you talk to yourself when you fail. What do you say to yourself when you're alone? Because your private conversations reveal the truth of your attitude. If you're always criticizing yourself, always reliving your worst moments, you are reinforcing failure instead of recovering from it. But if you choose to speak life, if you declare that this failure will teach you something, will strengthen you, will not be wasted, then even your worst day becomes a seed for your next season. Attitude doesn't stop failure from coming, but it stops it from having the last word. Attitude not only affects how we see ourselves and how we recover from failure, it ultimately determines how others see us and respond to us. Whether you realize it or not, your attitude is announcing who you are before you even speak. It walks into the room before your resume does. It enters the meeting before your qualifications are mentioned. People can sense your energy, your spirit, your mindset, and they either lean into you or withdraw based on what your attitude is broadcasting. Some people walk through life wondering why doors don't open for them, why relationships don't last, why promotions seem out of reach. And often it's not that they lack talent or intelligence, it's that their attitude repels what they were designed to attract. You can be incredibly gifted, but if your attitude is toxic, self-centered, negative, or entitled, it will sabotage your opportunities every time, because no one wants to build with someone who tears down with their attitude. No one wants to follow someone who leads with arrogance, and no one wants to elevate someone who can't even carry a spirit of gratitude. But when your attitude is humble, teachable, and full of grace, even in moments of pressure, you start to stand out. You become the one people trust, the one they want on their team, the one they think of when new opportunities arise. Why? Because your attitude tells them that you're not just capable, you're consistent. You're not just good at what you do. You're good at how you carry it, and that makes a difference. Think about it. You might not always be the smartest in the room. You may not have the most experience. But a right attitude can place you in rooms that your background couldn't. It can bring you into spaces where people vouch for your name not because you begged, but because your spirit made an impact. That's the unseen power of attitude. It builds a reputation before a resume is even needed. And let me tell you, the right attitude will protect you in high places, because success will test your character more than failure ever will. When things start going well, when you start getting attention, when people begin to celebrate you, that's when your attitude needs to be anchored. If you don't stay grounded, pride will creep in, and what pride builds, it also destroys. But a healthy attitude will keep your feet on the ground while your hands are reaching for greater. It'll remind you where you came from, who helped you, and why you must keep serving with integrity. So don't just pray for open doors, pray for the right attitude when they open. Because your attitude won't just get you there, it will decide if you stay there.